Lewis. Um, so Se,
Oh,
can I take your take on your 90 foot quote?
Of course, that not my quote. Not
Uh,
my quote.
it's
Soundly's quote.
you're quoting soundly. So it's a problem of language. What if we remove the word hump and change it to the word sagitta? So the because the word hump
mm,
is loaded. We've had this discussion many times before. The word hump indicates, or it sort of implies, that the water is going up in elevation and then going down in elevation, and that just doesn't make sense because water does not hump. You know, I mean, we can't just have a hump of water. The water likes to find its own level. So instead of saying the word hump, let's say the word sagitta, and then he is correct. The sagitta is approximately 90 feet if you go end to end across Lake Pontchartrain.
So there's a hump of
Sag,
water,
sagitta.
90 foot. No, you don't get to remove words. Sorry, Charles. I mean, even though you're a math teacher and you don't have the power of word removal, right? That's what he said. There's a
yeah,
hump of
So
water,
what do you
90
mean by
feet.
hump?
I'm sorry, Charles.
What do you mean by hump? Or what do
A
you
hump?
think he meant by hump?
Well, I strictly asked him, and he said there is a hump of water 90 feet tall from my feet to his feet in the center of the causeway. What do you think that means? A
Oh no, no
90-foot from a
I,
person's feet. What do you think that means? You think that
I,
means what?
I, I just told you. I literally just told you, and this is one of the hugest problems in this entire arena. Is you ask specific questions, I give specific answers. Like I went back and forth with, what was it, Jesse the other day, or not Jesse? It was Jeremy. I went back and forth with Jeremy the other day, and he literally would not listen to a single word I said. And I'm going to tell you again, it's a sagitta. So from your feet to his feet is called the chord. That's the shortest uh, straight line, Euclidean straight line between 2 points. That's the chord. And because of the curvature of the Earth, you're going to have a sagitta approximately 90 feet tall, where the
That's a
level
rise?
surface, the
Is that a
level,
rise?
that is not a rise. It's a level surface of the water. The water is going to be at rest level the whole way. So the
could we
water
say that like
level,
is the Sagitta developed from the idea of a Sagittarius or the bow?
I have no idea. But that's actually that's a good
But is
thought.
that
I
what's
don't know.
happening? Like a bow is occurring, like a hump, but not a. We won't call it that. But aren't you just like not replacing the word with? It's just one you're more comfortable with, right, Charles?
Well, the problem, the reason why I'm saying I'm trying to make very clear with sagitta versus hump is 99.9% of the time anybody says the word hump, they mean going up and then going down, an increase in elevation followed by a decrease in elevation. And that's what a hump always means, whether it's a camel's hump, whether it's a hump over a hill, whether it's a hump over a bridge. It
You
always
got it,
means a
Charles.
change in elevation. So that's why
Yeah.
I don't like the word hump in this context, because it is not a change in elevation. The water is level the entire way. The water is at rest at level the entire way. So a more accurate
But you
word
know that that's
is
not true,
sagitta.
right?
I'm sorry?
Because wouldn't Sagitta have to be equal, like a bow, or like the curvature of a lens, or something like that? Whereas, like, what you're talking about is going to be totally irregular.
No, no, no. The only thing a sagitta is this, if you could just visualize this in your mind.
It's not a shape, though. Okay, gotcha.
No, a sagitta is a distance.
It's just an idea. All right.
It's a distance. If you can imagine a circle and then draw a chord on that circle, so any point of the circumference to any other point, the sagitta is the furthest distance that chord gets from the circumference, the near circumference.
So let
Okay.
me ask you, is the cord at the feet of the people in this case?
Yeah, the chord is foot to foot. Your feet to Soundly's feet across the Lake Pontchartrain. The shortest straight line distance, Euclidean straight line distance, that would be the chord. That's exactly right.
Okay, so the cord and the apex of the sagitta, would that be at the same elevation?
No, no, no. The chord. So the elevation of the water does not change. So like, you know, let's say
Uh-huh.
you were standing with your toes in the water on one side of the lake, and then Soundly has his toes in the water on the other side of the lake. So the water is at rest. The water is completely level. Okay. But
So that's where the
level,
cord is, at the foot,
no,
at
no,
the
no. The cord
sandal.
is the straight line distance. The cord goes underwater and then underground.
Right,
The cord
right. But
tunnels.
it starts at the foot of either person, right? At the
Yes.
beach?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So can you draw us how then the cord and the apex of the circle on top of the cord, how that is at the same elevation? Can you draw us a thing
No,
on
the
that?
cord is not at the same elevation. The cord goes underground and underwater and underground. The cord goes 90 negative. Let's say we call the elevation of the water 0, right? We call it sea level. I mean, I know it's not sea level, but let's call it lake level. We'll call it 0. Is that can we agree upon that? Just for argument's sake.
Okay, the cord is at 0. Okay,
No, no,
go
no, no,
on.
no. The level of the water. This is really, really important. The entire length of the water. The water is level, and we'll just arbitrarily assign that to be an elevation of 0. So the entire lake is at elevation 0. Now, what the cord is going to do is the cord is going to go negative numbers to a maximum of negative 90 at the halfway
Hold
point.
on, hold on. The cord is going down from the person's feet at the
The
beach?
cord, the elevation is going negative. The cord is a straight line, so
Negative?
the cord is a Euclidean straight line. But if the water level is at 0 elevation the whole way across the lake, the cord is going to have negative elevation, and it's going to peak at a negative elevation of negative 90 halfway across the
What?
lake.
Where? Where is that? What? You mean the cord is going down from the water
Cord,
surface?
okay. So there's a divergence, let's say. I'm not going to use the word down because
Well,
that's
you're
another
changing,
word
you're
that is
removing another
confusing.
word. So we can use
No,
hump and down is gone too.
you are
Okay,
allowed to
go
use
on.
hump, you're allowed to use down.
Yeah,
I'm going to
down as
choose the
well.
words that I won't use. How about that? You can use whatever words you want.
So what are you
So
going to replace down with?
I'm going to say the surface of the lake and the cord diverge from each other. Okay?
Okay.
The lake level is level, right? Water at rest, level, and the cord is a Euclidean straight line. All right?
But is
Now,
well, okay, go on, go on.
so and all of this is like none of this is evidence. None of this is proof of anything. You know, we've got a glober and a flat earther, you know, are talking past each other. So this entire conversation is counterproductive. Unless
No,
unless you
it's not.
really can get a sense on what would happen if the Earth were a globe. You know, like can you visualize what would happen if the Earth were a globe on Lake
We're
Pontchartrain?
changing the story and visualizing things. We're back on the beach. We got 2 feet on the ground. I'm on one side, you're on the other. We
Yep.
got a cord and we have an elevation that's not an elevation of 90 feet. That's what you're trying to convince people. How
I
you
did
think
not
you're
say
doing so far?
I did not say an elevation which is not an elevation. That is 100% false. I never said any such thing. Water
So is
is
there an
level.
elevation between the
The
cord
water
and the
is
apex of the hump?
the water is level the whole way.
So you see, you're double speaking, Charles. I'm
No, I
sorry,
am
bro.
not double speaking. You are putting words in my mouth. But what's important, SE, is that it doesn't appear as though you understand the globe geometry. You don't have to believe it. Like I'm not saying you don't have to believe it, right? But do you even understand the language that we're using when describing the Earth curvature at Lake Pontchartrain?
Yes, I
Because it
understand
doesn't.
very. Yes, I do. You want to change the word hump and you want to change the word down. I understand those words very well.
That's not the question I asked. I didn't ask you about words that I don't want people to use. You're allowed to use whatever words you want.
Well, he was
Question I
saying that
asked you,
Soundly
SE,
said that.
the question I asked you was, do you even understand the globe geometry? And again, I'm not asking you to believe it, but do you understand it? Like, do you understand the explanation that a glober gives with regards to Lake Pontchartrain and the 90-foot
Yes,
sagitta?
yes,
Because it doesn't.
yes. Not only do I understand it, Charles, listen very carefully. I spoke to the person that was part of the team that did this observation. We went through the whole video on the level. We went through the whole thing. I understand it very, very good. And the person that did this thing said it. I'm not saying this. The person that was part of the team that did the measurements, Charles, told me personally that there's a 90-foot hump in between me and him on either side of the causeway. Now, whatever you say will not change that, Charles.
Okay, so again, we're getting back to the question of understanding. I asked you, what do you think he meant when he said hump? Can you be very specific? What do you think he
What
meant?
do I think he meant? Wow, do you think I'm a psychologist, or do you think I'm a brain reader? Or what do you think he meant, Charles?
I've explained it 3 times already. So now I
So
would
I'm
like to know what
supposed
you
to
think
hold
he
on.
meant.
Okay, so I'm supposed to take your word of what you think he meant when he was talking to me, correct?
So Essie, I would love
That's
to
what you're
have
saying,
a
Charles.
productive conversation with you, but literally you asked me 3 times what he meant. Literally, I explained 3 times what he meant. I am
Okay, does
asking you
that
what
make
you
it
believe
Charles is
he
the moderator.
meant, because the word hump is very loaded and you insist on using it. That's fine. You're allowed to use the word hump all day.
I
But
thought he said that the guy said
if
it.
when you use the word hump, you have this implication in your mind of a change in elevation, well, then that's where the disconnect is.
I think the disconnect is on your part, but we'll let the audience decide. I'm telling you the conversation I had with the person that was part of the team that made the measurements. Now,
Yeah.
if you want to go into his brain and
No.
try to
Well,
think what he meant, that's on you, Charles.
when he said the word hump, what picture does that make in your mind?
A hump, a rise in elevation. That
Okay.
is a hump. When
Okay.
somebody's driving on the road, right? It's a nice, level, smooth surface, and you see a hump. There's a sign there. It says, slow down, hump ahead, right?
Right. For like a
And you
school
go and
zone
your
or
car
something.
goes up, you feel the hump, and then it goes down.
And it
You
goes
feel boom,
down.
boom,
Okay.
the front tire. Hold on, I'm not finished. And you feel boom, boom, the back tire. That's a hump, Charles.
Okay. So SE, this gets back to one of my original points is the question about, do you understand globe geometry? And it's clear you do not, because I've explained strenuously, other people have explained strenuously to you that a hump, in terms of talking about the globe, a hump is not a change in elevation. This has been explained to you 50 times. And now here it
Right.
is. You're
You can
saying,
say
I ask you what a hump
whatever.
means, and you say a hump is a change in elevation. That means you don't
That is
understand the globe geometry.
every
no,
day
we're
for
not
3
talking about
years.
your globe geometry. We're talking about reality. We're talking about a bridge. Now, anybody could go to that bridge. They ain't gonna see no humps, Charles, and they ain't gonna see no drop, Charles. You know why? Because everybody knows how water flows. Now, if you want to think of a model that has humps and drops, that's on you. I'm talking about reality. I don't care what your model says. We're talking about reality and how water flows in reality.
So, it appears that you've missed my point about the word hump being a loaded word. 99.9% of the time, the word hump means a change in elevation. And you just described driving over a hump. You see a caution, hump, and then you drive bump, 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 bump. We all get that. That's what a hump is in the real world. So when we're talking about Earth curvature and people use the word hump, it puts the wrong message in their mind. That's why I choose to stay away from the word hump. You're allowed to use it all you want, but it appears as though when you were listening to Soundly, the impression you got in your mind was a 90-foot change in elevation. That is not what Soundly meant, because that's not what Earth curvature does, especially on water. Water is at rest. All right? Water
Okay,
is level.
so let me get this straight. You just said 99.9% of the time a hump means rise in elevation.
Yes.
But in this particular case, when somebody spoke those words to me, you're going in his brain and you're thinking what he thinks, that hump in this particular occasion is not part of those 99.9% of the time. Correct, Charles?
Yes. But I'm not going in his brain. I'm
Wow.
just talking about in
Wow.
this arena. In this arena, the word hump has a very specific meaning, and it is not helpful. Okay? That's what I meant. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze anybody. I'm just saying that Soundly knows the water's at rest. Soundly knows there isn't a big pile of water that's defying the laws of physics. This is big pile of 90-foot high pile of water that's not sloshing down and flooding everything. That's just preposterous. That's science fiction. There's no hump of water. The water's
So why
level.
did he say it then? Why
Because
did he say it?
that's the word people use in this arena when describing an optical phenomenon. When you look at a far target, especially across water, it appears in your visual field of reference that the water is going up and that the water is going down. It is
No, he
not,
didn't
the
say it
water is not
appears.
actually going up and going down. It just is appearance in your visual field. And so people use the
Excuse
word
me,
hump
Charles.
informally.
Excuse me, Charles. You are misrepresenting him. He said it has been measured.
Yeah,
So obviously,
absolutely.
maybe you didn't see. Did you see the video that I'm talking about with
Absolutely,
Soundly?
it's been measured. I've got the data. It's a
There you
90-foot
go.
sagitta.
So
Um,
it's not a visual thing like you just said 30
Well,
seconds
okay.
ago, right, Charles?
So it's both visual, and if you measure
Oh my God.
the data point to point, if you measure the deviation from the chord, yeah, sure, you can measure the 90-foot sagitta. Absolutely.
So is
got
it
a math question.
visual or can you measure it? Which one is it?
Both.
So both. So can we take a picture of this hump since we're able to measure it? Can we take a picture of it?
Well, Soundly has done that many, many times. Of course, you can't see through the hump. I mean, the you can't see on the other side of it because a hump of water can't, the water's not transparent. But I mean, you could see the stuff going over, right?
But hold on, you said it's both visual and measurable.
Yes.
So that means if it's measurable, if I go from the side of Pontchartrain Bridge, right? Will I be able to see that hump since you'll be able to measure it, right? Measurement means you can probably drop a measurement and go up, measure it, that kind of measurement, an actual measurement,
Okay.
or you want to change the word measurement now? Let me
No.
guess.
No. If you
Okay.
take the thing that most flat earthers don't get is that the earth is really, 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 really big. And that
Oh, here we go.
earth curvature is imperceptible the vast majority of the times. I would say,
but
almost
didn't
all
Soundly
the
claim
times.
to have caught Earth curvature
So-
from this very
So
sighting?
when I say measurable, if you took a GPS receiver and you recorded the XYZ coordinates and you drove all the way across the bridge, you would be able to measure the sagitta from your data, from your XYZ data.
But you
That's
won't
what I
be able
meant
to
by
see it
measurable.
though. But you won't be able to. You'll be able to measure from one side or the other a 90-foot hump,
Sagitta.
sagitta, but you won't be able to see it.
Well, if you line up your camera on one side of the bridge and you sight along it like people sight along a pool cue, or people sight along a piece of lumber when trying to pick up a lumber that's not warped, they sight along it. If you sight along it, lengthwise in your field of view, then you will see the curve.
No, I'm not
Right?
talking
And
about that.
Soundly's
I'm
done
not
that many,
talking
many
about
times.
that. I'm talking
Well,
about the hump from a perpendicular view. Because you
okay.
said you can measure this hump, right? So can you see that hump? If you were to look at the bridge from a perpendicular view from the side, can you see the hump? The
No,
90-foot hump?
no.
No. You can measure it, but you
do you want?
cannot see it.
Well, do you want to know
Sorry?
why? We're
Please
talking
tell
about.
me why we can measure something, but we can't see it. Yes.
Well,
It's impossible.
we can.
You have to
90
call him a
feet,
liar.
compare 90 feet to 26 miles. Just do that as a percent.
I hope everybody's listening to this, right?
Well,
You can measure
that's the math.
something, but you
That's the
can't
math.
see it. Now he's gonna change. He's gonna go somewhere totally different.
I think
you're
I think you'd be
asking
able
if
to
you could
see it if you compress the image you're looking at of if you're staying perpendicular to it from the side. If you were to compress the image left to right, you definitely a hump would be apparent or a bulge.
No, I'm not saying to compress an image. I'm saying
I am.
you visually eyeball it. If you can
Yeah,
measure
you probably
something,
can't.
yeah.
It's probably really hard to do that with just your eyeballs because they're not tools and precise.
The whole point,
So
Jesse,
Soundly,
is we're
let's say
looking across it, aren't we? We're looking across the curve. That's the whole point of the fucking observation. So we're
So I
not
should
going to
take
go. We're not going to go to the side and say, "Can we see a hump?" We're looking down round the curve of Earth forwards, That's the observation.
So it sounds
So you
like,
could only see the
I'm
curve
sorry,
from one way.
SE.
Got it. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
so
man.
SE, if you
got
had an orthographic view, real quick, and you had a picture of it, and it was 1,000 pixels long, this sagitta is less than a pixel. So let me just repeat that. If you had a orthographic view, you're looking 90 degrees perpendicular to the bridge, and you had the whole 26-mile long bridge, and it was 1,000 pixels, like it's a photograph, 1,000 pixels wide, orthographically. The sagitta is less than a pixel. Okay, I'm
Right.
not saying
I
it's
know what
zero.
you're trying to do,
I'm not
Charles.
saying
You're
it's
gonna
zero. I'm just saying, you keep asking, can you see it? Can you see it? No, Earth curvature is imperceptible most of the time. All right.
now, nice tried attempt to pixelize reality. It's not
Well,
gonna work. We
I'm just
work.
answering
Hold
your
on.
question.
Interrupt you. We work in reality. A pixel is a pixel. A 90-foot hump is a 90-foot hump.
Well,
You
what is
cannot
that?
just say pixel and try to get away with it. Ain't gonna happen.
Okay,
Sorry.
so SE, what do you think 90 feet is compared to 26 miles?
Doesn't matter. 90
Does
foot
matter.
is approximately a 70-story building, and a 7-story building in reality. Now,
Okay,
picture
and
where
what is
you
that
guys
compared
live.
to 26
Right?
miles?
You're talking. It doesn't matter. You can compare it to
does.
whatever you want. It's 70. It's a 7-story building in reality. It's
Yes.
there. You can see it. There's no way to miss it. It's right in your face.
Yes, it's right in my face on a 26-mile span. So what is a 7-story building compared to 26 miles?
Doesn't matter. It's still a 7-story building.
So
No matter what you
all right,
say, will not change a 7-story building. It
okay.
will not change it. You can
Okay, so
you can
SE.
say anything you want. It's still going to be 90 feet.
Okay,
90 feet
so SE.
means 90 feet.
SE. So it seems that what you're looking for is a visual curve, right? A visual curve. So let's say the length of the bridge was, I don't know, the length of a sheet of paper. You're I don't know, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Let's say 11.5 inches, or let's say 12 inches, just to make it nice and simple. So let's say the bridge is 12 inches long. How much do you think that the curve would be? Again, just give me in inches. So if it's
You
a
see, you're
12
doing
inch,
it again. You're going from reality
I'm just
to a sheet of
asking
paper.
you. I'm asking you what you think it looks like. You
It
think
doesn't
that this
matter. There
curve would
will
be
be a
noticeable.
difference,
Every
even
time
on
I'm
your sheet of
asking you,
paper.
every time I'm asking you, say it doesn't matter, and it does matter.
No, it doesn't matter because we're talking about a 70-foot level
Yes,
difference, a
yes.
70-foot height difference in reality. You're going to
90 feet.
sheets of paper. You're going to molecules
Well,
on the screen, pixels. It's not working, Charles.
So SE, you do realize that every time I'm asking you a specific question, you're saying it doesn't matter, and then you're using this "it doesn't matter" to justify your position.
No,
So
I answered the question. I said, even on your paper, it will show a difference. Let me
how
say
much?
it again.
How much?
Even it doesn't matter how much.
It
It
does.
will be a difference.
How much? Can you give it in inches?
I'm not going to give you. Why should I? Why should I go in your fantasy? It doesn't matter.
Well,
There will be a difference.
so
That is the point.
how much?
Who
How much
cares?
difference?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
70
So
foot, brother. Go outside, look at a building. Look at a building that's 10 feet high, and then look at a building that's 90 foot high. The difference is there. There's nothing that you can bring with sheets of paper or pixels or fantasies.
Okay,
There
so
is a
SE.
difference.
SE. If somebody, well, see, analogies don't seem to work with flat Earth folks.
Try all. I'm here all day, bro. Go ahead. Give me another analogy. Do it. You will not succeed, Charles.
Well, that's because
A
you're just
difference in elevation
impervious
is
to
a
facts.
difference in elevation. There is nothing that you can say here or anybody on Earth that will change a difference in elevation. 10 foot is 10 foot,
of elevation.
and 90 foot is 90 foot. Nothing you say, Charles, will change that.
Oh my goodness. You were.
So can I understand that the question here isn't about reality, it's about what we believe. Like I still don't understand it. Is the contention about whether this thing actually exists or how we perceive
It's the
the curvature
spirituality
of water?
He's trying to tell me it's actually there, but we don't see it. And I'm telling him, look, it's your model. Tell me it's your model. You believe it? No problem. But he's trying to tell me there's an actual hump of water there, but we can't see it. And he's trying to take the word hump away from the conversation and drop away from the conversation so far.
So SE, you just misspoke. You said I'm trying to tell you there's a 90-foot hump of water. No, I am not trying to tell you that. I'm trying to tell you that the sagitta is 90 feet. The water is level. Okay? Because I'm
Right. And I
staying away
told
from the
you,
word hump because the word
right,
hump indicates a change in elevation.
right. And I told you it doesn't matter what you think. The man that did the measurements told me this himself. He said, SE, yes, there is a 90-foot hump of water between me and you on the lake. So what you think, Charles, it doesn't really matter, bro.
Well,
What you think he said or
what would be
meant is
really
irrelevant.
helpful, SE, what would be really, really helpful is if you could understand the globe model. Because right now you have this blockage in your mind where Soundly says 90-foot hump and you think 90-foot change in elevation, which literally doesn't make any sense. Okay?
I know it doesn't make any
Everyone knows
sense.
it doesn't make any sense. So is it
Exactly. We're not
possible,
talking about your model.
SE,
We're talking Charles, we're talking about in reality, not in the model. In reality, they took their car, they put a GPS on it, and they measured it, Charles.
yes.
Not in
And
the model. In
so
reality,
So
Charles.
SE, in reality, there is not a 90-foot pile of water that is
I
defying the
know
laws
that,
of physics.
Charles. I know
Okay?
that.
So being that there is no 90-foot pile of water defying the laws of physics, is it possible, SE, that you misunderstood Soundly?
No, you listen to the thing. Those words
Oh my
came out of
goodness.
his mouth, Charles. He told me, Charles,
He
and it's
told you
in
that
the
there was
video, that there's a
90 feet of
90-foot
water
hump of water,
defying
Charles,
physics.
between. Why are you interrupting me, Charles? Are you triggered? Do you
Oh
not
my
want the
goodness.
truth of
Go
what
ahead. Go
soundly
ahead.
said to come out? I will repeat again for the 50th time. It doesn't
Please
matter what
don't
you
repeat
think
again.
he meant. It doesn't matter, Charles, what you think he meant. The people that measured the bridge told me there's a 90-foot hump of water. No matter which way you twist it, Charles, it will not change that. If you have a problem with that, go talk with Soundly.
All right,
Can
bye,
I?
Charles.
All right,
I
SE.
feel like I'm
I'm
just
done.
just.
I'm going to
Yeah.
sign off now. You guys
Yes,
have a
you
good
are
Yeah.
done,
conversation.
Charles. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Wait, Charles, before
I
you
don't
go,
even
I
get
had a
it. Like,
question. I had a math question. We've got the Pontchartrain Bridge, which is 23.83 miles. If we say 23 miles long, we using 8 inches per mile squared, that would mean that there'd be a drop of 352 feet. How do you figure the sagitta?
I think he's gone.
Oh, does anyone know how you figure the sagitta?